Hello lads and ladies, and welcome to this and welcome back for another video on the channel. Today it is more League One content to get our grips on. Yes, we are ranking every set of away fans that visited Highbury Stadium last year. Now, this is accounting everything: numbers, the noise, how far they travelled, was it a Saturday or a Tuesday, a bank holiday, the team's form at the time, whether they were struggling and they still turned out and made some good noise. It was hard to make this list, but I have got my 23, and this is just my personal opinion. Fleetwood are one of the worst set of away fans in the division, for numbers and all that. But I'm ranking it on my experience from watching every team at Highbury. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. We're closing on 9,000 subscribers for the brand new League One season about to start. Last is Cambridge. Now, Cambridge, again, fairly good at home, but there wasn't really any noise from them. I think they were pretty much basically safe when they came in January. The numbers were okay, 200-300 of them on a Saturday in January just after Christmas. I know they were probably saving up round that time because I think they had Sunderland round the corner. They had, some big away games round then. So Fleetwood isn't the most glamorous of away days, but they weren't great, but they weren't bad as well. Next up, Doncaster. They brought a few hundred, to be fair to them. They were basically relegated. If they would have lost to us, I think they would have been one result away from the drop. They'd had an awful season, and a lot of the fans already give up. Yeah, it is a close away game, but they still brought 300-400 and made a decent amount of noise in the terrace, and fair play to them. I misplayed Doncaster. Next up, Gillingham. There was literally maybe 60 or 70 of them that came up by memory. They weren't that bad, to be fair. They had to play a lot of kids that day. They were in the bottom four by some distance. Steve Evans was on thin ice at the time. I respect Gillingham. It was a long, long way to travel, especially near Christmas, and that is why they're not, in the bottom. Next up, Crewe. Now, we're one with Crewe. Crewe actually brought quite a few to Fleetwood. They actually brought about 600 fans, but I didn't hear them once. And this was early on in the season, and where there's a bit more hope. Yes, they were struggling at the time, but I expected a little bit more from Crewe. When else they visited, when they were, when they went down to League Two already and they visited on the final day, they were excellent. So I think Crewe, not great this year. Next up, Accrington. Again, they only brought about 250, which, is not bad for Accrington. We only took just over 300 to them. They won 2-1. There was a couple of decent limbs in that away when they scored to make it 2-1 in the last minute after us having Callum Camps in goal. So, for me, decent set of away fans. They made a little bit of noise. The numbers weren't great for how close it is. But again, they had Bolton at that time. They had Oars. They had a couple of other local away games in there as well. Next up, Burton. About 100 of them on a Tuesday night. 3-hour drive. Fleetwood, where if you look at how many times Fleetwood and Burton have played each other, there must be 10 visits to each other's stadiums now at least. And they'd already visited, or what they were going to visit in the FA Cup as well. So it's not a great tie, but Burton are in this list, and fair play, they're actually quite noisy. Next up, Lincoln. Another Tuesday night. They still brought a decent number of fans. I reckon they'd be in the top 6 if they would have come on a Saturday, which it was meant to be, but our awful pitch at the time called halt to that. Decent numbers, decent noise, considering they were basically safe at the time as well. Next up, MK Dons. Again, the only reason that they're going a bit above Lincoln, similar numbers, similar noise, just a bit further to travel. So MK Dons going a little bit higher in that list. Next up, Wycombe. Again, numbers don't say a lot in this list, but the noise does. There's only about 150, maybe 200 Chairboys, but you could hear them singing right throughout the match. They were 3-3, they were 3-1 up, and they drew 3-3. They kept singing till the end, and I've visited them a couple of times this year, and they've always been, impressive, and it feels like a well-united family football club, and I really respect that. Next up, Cheltenham. Again, only brought about 100, and some of these teams that are in this part of the list only brought about 100, 150 fans, but still made noise. Again, it was maybe the second home game of the season. We won 3-2 in the last minute. And, they made a bit of a racket, to be fair to them. And, fair play to them. I rated them at home, but they were really good away from home. Next up, Wimbledon. Now, Wimbledon had about 300 fans, and we didn't give them the Percy Ronson. We packed them into the Parkside, and I think that helped the atmosphere with Wimbledon. They got right behind the team. They didn't stop singing. Obviously, a late goal sent them down. Joe Garner kept us up and sent them down. How important did that turn out to be? Made a racket. 300 fans from, London way, in April when you're struggling is a decent amount for a club of the size and how much they were struggling late on in the season, because they hadn't won in about 24 matches as well. That's got to be taken into account. Next up is Shrewsbury. Now, Shrewsbury visited on Boxing Day and brought about 500 fans, to be fair, and I was shocked how loud they were and how many they brought and how well they got behind the team. I know they won 3-0, but even before the game, you could see that they were, well up for it. Next up, Charlton Athletic. Good set of fans, Charlton. Always rate them highly. They don't always bring the greatest of numbers to Fleetwood. The home support's immense. They get over 20,000. This was the time where Atkins was on thin ice and they won 2-1. They got a great result and they made a bit of noise and fair play to them. Next up, Plymouth Argyle. They visited on a Tuesday night in January, February time. Awful conditions, rearranged fixture. And they brought about 200 on a Tuesday night and made a lot of noise. We were 3-1 up with about 5 minutes to go and we drew 3-3. So that turned out to be a great point for us. But they're unbelievable, Plymouth. And I think they're a sleeping giant of a football club because everyone talks about Sunderland, Portsmouth, Ipswich. Those types of football clubs in this league. But Plymouth always get good crowds. They're always well backed. They're brilliant home support, brilliant ground, brilliant club. And, they're in this list for a reason. They're in that, top 7, top 8 part of the list for a reason. And exactly those reasons. Next up, Bolton Wanderers. Again, they were awful away from home. They lost 3-0, but they were still quite loud. They packed out the terrace on a Tuesday night, which has to give them some consideration. What annoys me is some people will go, well, it's only an hour away. They should be selling out Fleetwood. Yeah, they should, but to still do it is amazing. And they probably would have sold maybe 2,500 tickets if they would have got given that. And, they're a great football club and, fair play to Bolton. Respect them a lot. And, home support's good and the away support, they always, take, big numbers to games. Next up is Oxford. Now, Oxford brought about 700-800 on a bank holiday Friday. We're 3-0 up after about 20 minutes and won 3-2. It got a bit nervous in that away end, but they needed to win to keep up the grips on the playoffs at the time. But they were still well back. They were still well supported. Great numbers on a bank holiday. I know that means more will go, but they were still quite lively in that away end. Limbs were good. Decent support. Could always take, good consistent numbers everywhere, I seem to find. Next up, Rotherham. No, they went up deservedly so. The home support is decent in crowd noise. It's not the best. They're well back away from home. Some serious limbs away at Gillingham. But at Fleetwood, they sold out the away end. Didn't really have much to sing about, but when they were at it. And, fair play to them. Next up, it's getting harder now. Ipswich Town. Well backed, great numbers, great support, pretty much a sellout. Long way to come. And, the limbs were okay. The noise was quite loud as well. Consistent throughout the game. And, great win for them that. And for me, I think their away support will get even better next year because they'll hopefully, for them, have more to sing about. Next up, Portsmouth. Yes, Portsmouth. Opening day. August day, sold out, expected really, but unbelievable support, quite lively, limbs in that away and there was flares going off, everything you want in an away day they had. And come on, Fleetwood away on the opening day for a lot of football fans is the dream. You can have a weekend down in Blackpool, for everyone really. If you want to go out clubbing, you want to go out, to the pub, you want to go out drinking, you want to come with a family, it's a perfect away game in the early stages of the summer, and they use that to their advantage. And great support, Portsmouth. I've harped on for it long enough, and for me, special football club. Next up, we're going for Morecambe. Now, Morecambe were excellent. They brought 1,000 fans, considering, 4 years ago, they were struggling to get 1,000 fans for a home fixture on a Tuesday night against Crewe. And they've come a long way in a short period of time, where they've been, bit like a jigsaw. The pieces have been put in for a number of years. And, people say this is a fairy tale, but it's been built on hard work. And, they came down, they were noisy, they pretty much outsang the Fleetwood supporters for most of the game as well. Limbs at the end. Come on, you can't beat that. One of the best limbs I've seen at Highbury. Stockton from his own half to keep Morecambe in League One. And, flares going off loud. You got the drum, you got the trumpet, which at the time when you just lost, you don't want to hear. But, fair play and, special day for the Shrimps fans. Wigan in third. Wigan have scored. I said they would. Well, they scored 3 goals after we went 2-0 up. Great support on a Tuesday night. Excellent. One of the best sets of fans I've seen at Highbury in a long time at the time. The limbs were class. That's why they're high in this list. They brought great numbers. They were loud. They stayed after the game to support the team. And at 2-0, they kept going. They didn't go quiet. They kept going. And that takes a lot in football, because the fans would have been deflated. They would have been thinking, we missed our opportunity. Because at the time, there were some big football teams, piling on the pressure at Wigan. Rotherham were doing really well. Portsmouth were, in a chase for the playoffs. Sheffield Wednesday were doing excellent at the time as well. So there's so many teams piling on the pressure. Next up, Sunderland. Excellent. For the first 35 minutes, if it was based on that, they'd be well and above. But then with Sunderland, it seems to be really loud, and the nerves late on in games kills them. And it did kill them, because they were 2-0 up and they drew 2-2. Excellent numbers. There was some in our end. They sell out everywhere they go, pretty much. They sell out miles away on a Tuesday night. Excellent fan base, really loud, but not quite first this year. They won't even be first next year, because congratulations, they've won promotion to the Championship, and deservedly so. And a football club of that size should not be down here in League One. And another football club that shouldn't be down here in League One, but unfortunately are Sheffield Wednesday. Yes, they are top of the tree. They brought 1,200 on a Tuesday night of no trains. They took 5,000 fans to MK Dons on a Saturday night on Sky. They were 2-1 down. They scored 2 goals in 52 seconds, I think it was. Lee Gregory. That song pretty much seals them #1. You could hear it for about 10 minutes straight. Really well supported. Great limbs in that away end. And, special football club I've seen, 5 times this year now. And every time they've always impressed me in terms of atmosphere, numbers, noise, the feel-good factor. And, the ground's great at Hillsborough as well. And, away from home, they're really well supported. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. Again, let me know who your top 3 are, and who maybe the worst 3 are in League One. And let me know on the way that you're looking forward to next year, because obviously we've got, Barnsley, Derby County, both coming down, which should be decent away days. I know Derby's a new ground for me. You got Peterborough, which is an old classic. You got Forest Green Rovers coming up for the first time in their history. Exeter, which is a long way away, but again should be a decent set of supporters down there as well. You got Bristol Rovers, who are a top football club, and they went up for a reason. And Port Vale, who I've seen many times, they'd always sold out at Fleetwood pretty much. So should be really good. Please give this video a like. Also subscribe. Until next time, guys, I will see you later. It's a big over and out from me.